Even six-figure earners feel the squeeze. 60% say one income is now nearly impossible. This isn't about inflation, it's about the deliberate dismantling of the economic model that made single-earner families possible. The golden age that wasn't. The iconic 1950s single breadwinner household wasn't just cultural, it was structural. For about 3 decades, 1940s to 1970s, a specific arrangement allowed one income to support a middle-class lifestyle. Strong unions bargained for family wages, productivity gains flowed to workers, and policies supported the standardized 40-hour job. But this model had a fatal flaw, notes labor historian Louis Hyman. The Fair Labor Standards Act was written for factory workers at large manufacturers, a template that increasingly doesn't match our economy. More critically, this golden age excluded many. Agricultural and domestic workers, disproportionately women and people of color, were deliberately excluded from key protections. The celebrated single-earner model primarily served white, male industrial workers. The Great Unraveling. The 1970s brought stagflation and global competition, sparking a corporate revolution. The philosophy shifted from workers as assets to workers as liabilities. This wasn't merely a change in attitude, it was a strategic restructuring. 1. The temp economy takes over. What began with Manpower Incorporated providing clerical temps in the 1950s became a wholesale business strategy by the 1980s. Companies began outsourcing entire departments, from janitorial to IT, to staffing agencies. This allowed firms to shed not just benefits but legal responsibility. 2. The employee end run. America's safety net, unemployment, workers' comp, retirement benefits, is tied to employee status. By reclassifying workers as independent contractors, or temps, companies created a shadow workforce without protections. As Hyman explains, the American workforce gets a double slam, increasingly casualized employment plus inability to access the policies meant to compensate for that insecurity. 3. The union defund. Concurrent with this shift came a coordinated assault on organized labor. Private sector union membership collapsed from 24% in 1973 to 6% today, stripping workers of their primary leverage. 4. The gig economy culmination. Platforms like Uber and DoorDash represent the logical endpoint. Maximum flexibility for companies, maximum insecurity for workers. The independent contractor model transfers all risk, vehicle costs, healthcare, injury, to individuals while denying basic protections. The Great Decoupling. Simultaneously, wages divorced from productivity. From 1948 to 1973, productivity and compensation rose together. Then the link broke. Since 1979, productivity has grown 3.5 times faster than typical worker compensation. The economic pie grew enormously, but workers' slices barely expanded. Gains flowed instead to profits, executives, and shareholders. This decoupling meant families could no longer rely on steady wage growth. Maintaining standards required adding earners. The cost squeeze. While jobs became less secure and wages stagnated, essential costs exploded. Housing, a 5 million unit shortage has pushed prices beyond reach. The median home now costs 4.4 times the median household income, up from 2.9 times in 1970. Childcare, the very service enabling second incomes, has become prohibitive. Average annual infant care now exceeds public college tuition in most states. Healthcare, family premiums have jumped 47% over the past decade, far outpacing wage growth. E-education, college tuition has soared 197% since 1963, creating a generation that enters adulthood burdened by debt. This creates the two-income trap's vicious cycle. Families need 2 incomes to afford basics, but those basics, especially childcare, are expensive precisely because the economy assumes 2 incomes. The other story, liberation and choice. To view this shift solely as economic coercion misses half the picture. The dual-earner household also represents progress. The feminist movement and civil rights legislation opened professions once closed to women and minorities. For millions, work transformed from job to career. a source of identity, purpose, and independence. Economist Scott Winship challenges the pessimistic narrative. The increase in work among married women has been just as impressive among the wives of the best-earning husbands as lower down the income scale. This suggests broad societal change, not just economic pressure. Today's middle-class expectations have also expanded to include technology, travel, and experiences that were luxuries or non-existent in the 1950s. Some dual-earner pressure stems from this redefined standard of living. The consequences: stressed families, widening gaps. Regardless of causes, the two-income norm reshapes society. The time famine. Dual-earner parents face a logistical marathon. The second shift of domestic labor creates chronic stress, with women still bearing disproportionate burden. The care deficit. With no adult consistently at home, society faces a care gap for children, the elderly, and the sick. This falls unevenly on working women or requires expensive paid solutions. Accelerating inequality. Dual professional households pool high salaries to dominate housing markets in desirable school districts. Meanwhile, single-parent families face near-impossible math, often one emergency from crisis. The community erosion. When all adults work full-time, neighborhood social capital, informal support networks, volunteering, civic engagement, often weakens from neglect. The way forward: building choice, not regression. We cannot, and shouldn't, return to the exclusionary 1950s model. The goal should be genuine choice. Families should be able to thrive with one earner, two earners, or other configurations based on preference, not economic coercion. Achieving this requires updating the social contract for the 21st century. 1. Portable benefits. Decouple healthcare, retirement, and paid leave from specific employers. A benefits system that follows workers across jobs would provide security in a flexible economy. 2. Reimagined worker power. Explore sectoral bargaining or gig worker councils to give voice to those in fragmented industries. 3. Care infrastructure. Treat childcare and elder care as public goods through subsidies, public options, and better compensation for care workers. 4. Affordable essentials. Policies addressing housing supply, healthcare costs, and education debt could lower the fixed costs consuming family budgets. 5. Rethinking time. Flexible work arrangements, reasonable hours expectations, and adequate vacation time could alleviate the time famine stressing families. 1 less. The two-income household isn't a lifestyle choice or personal failing. It's the inevitable adaptation to an economy that dismantled job security, suppressed wages, and inflated essential costs. This shift contains both loss and liberation, the loss of a certain stability and the liberation of new opportunities. Understanding this complex history isn't about nostalgia. It's about recognizing that the story of the American family is fundamentally a story about work. To build a future with more security and genuine choice, we must write that story's next chapter with intention, creating an economy that serves families rather than one that families must desperately serve. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos.